Welcome to Chapter 3 of Indian Street Vendors. When I first floated the idea of an international tour to research street vending practices, I assumed it was little more than a pipe dream. My savings were modest, and overseas travel seemed impossible on a student budget. But as fate would have it, my academic advisor, Dr. Rao, arranged a serendipitous meeting with Madam Anjali Priya, a forward-thinking policymaker who had taken a keen interest in my thesis. She believed that thorough comparative research could spark meaningful change in how street vending was regulated back home. Over a series of lively discussions, Madam Priya decided to sponsor a substantial portion of my trip, viewing it as a common interest project that could inform state-level policy. With Dr. Rao's guidance and Madam Priya's official endorsement, I was set for an unexpected adventure. I never expected that my quest to understand Indian street vending would take me across oceans. Yet, there I was, boarding flights, dragging my backpack through bustling foreign markets, and juggling translation apps to communicate with vendors who reminded me so much of those back home. It wasn't just about tasting exotic street food. I wanted to see how other governments and technology innovators tackled the same challenges that loomed large in India. Could the lessons from distant lands reshape our policies, support our vendors, and solve our sanitation and employment struggles? That question echoed in my mind with each new country I visited. My first stop was Mexico City, a metropolis renowned for its vibrant street food culture. Everywhere I turned, I saw carts offering tacos al pastor, quesadillas, and freshly squeezed juices. What struck me most, however, was the level of government facilitation in certain districts. Through municipal programs, groups of vendors had formed cooperatives to pool resources like water access and basic sanitation. In exchange, city officials granted them semi-permanent spots in designated areas, similar to the vendor zones discussed in some Indian policies, but far better enforced. We have an e-portal created by the city government, one cooperative leader explained. It helps us manage permits, pay fees online, and even register complaints if local officers demand bribes. This digital platform intrigued me. Unlike in many parts of India, Mexican vendors had a user-friendly way to handle bureaucratic hurdles. By digitizing licensing and fee payments, corruption had become trickier, leaving vendors more space to focus on their core business. A few enterprising vendors also used mobile apps to accept payments, track orders, and provide customer loyalty points, an unexpected hint of tech savviness that underscored the potential for innovation in informal sectors. I began to see how the adoption of technology in Mexico's street vending system could be a game-changer for India. With digitized tools to handle licensing, payments, and complaints, the role of government facilitation seemed more effective, and vendors were empowered to focus on running their businesses efficiently. As I left the bustling markets of Mexico City, I couldn't help but wonder if the lessons from here could inform policy changes back home. The key was in finding the balance between government facilitation and vendor independence, using technology to bridge the gap. A couple of weeks later, I found myself weaving through Colombo, where the aroma of curry leaves and coconut milk fused with the salty breeze of the Indian Ocean. Street food here was a family affair. Vendors passed recipes down through generations, often setting up stalls in front of their homes. Government involvement appeared limited, but NGOs stepped in where public institutions fell short. After the tsunami, many families lost everything, recalled Nalani, a spirited vendor selling fragrant katu parata. Microfinance loans from state-backed banks and NGOs helped us rebuild our stalls. Sri Lanka's microfinance ecosystem was far from perfect, with occasional stories of high interest rates and predatory lending. Still, it offered a lifeline for many who had no other way to restart their livelihoods. I also learned that certain regions had begun experimenting with e-commerce platforms that let vendors sell homemade pickles and snacks online. An early taste of the digital shift that was already mainstream in places like Singapore. I realized how technology could open new doors for vendors in Sri Lanka. With the ability to access microfinance and the rise of digital platforms for sales, it was clear that innovation could help them grow their businesses, even in the informal sector. It also became evident that Sri Lanka had created a model that could offer important lessons for other countries, including India. I left Colombo with new insights into how microfinance and technology could help informal vendors thrive. While challenges remain, the ability to combine financial support with modern tools opened the door to a more stable future for vendors who previously had no access to such resources. Stepping into Bangkok's neon-lit streets was like entering a carnival for street food enthusiasts. Vendors selling pad thai, mango sticky rice, and grilled seafood lined every corner. The Thai government's influence was more noticeable here, especially near tourist zones. Markets like Chattachak or Khao San Road had official guidelines on stall dimensions, hygiene requirements, and operating hours. Inspectors made rounds to ensure compliance, but what truly impressed me was how vendors themselves often embraced these rules for one simple reason: tourists demanded quality and cleanliness. I also noticed a surge in social media marketing. Many street vendors used platforms like Facebook and Instagram to showcase their specialties. They posted daily menus and location updates to attract curious locals and tourists alike. It wasn't an official government initiative per se, but the tourism board did hold workshops teaching basic digital marketing to street vendors, an indirect yet effective push toward modernization. By the end of my time in Bangkok, I could clearly see how technology and government support could dramatically change the way street vendors operated. It wasn't about replacing the traditional methods, it was about integrating them with modern tools to empower vendors and enhance their businesses. My next stop is Singapore. Arriving in Singapore felt like a leap into a polished future. Their hawker centers stood in sharp contrast to the chaotic sprawl of Indian bazaars. Each center was a government-regulated hub of stalls, all equipped with clean water, proper drainage, and mandatory waste disposal routines. What particularly caught my eye were the cashless payment initiatives. Many hawker stalls proudly displayed QR codes for instant transactions through mobile wallets. "The government gives us incentives to go cashless," explained Mr. Lim, who ran a famed chicken rice stall. "Reduced transaction fees, faster service, it's win-win." Tourists appreciate it too, since they don't need local currency. Singapore's approach underscored the power of centralized planning. While the system had its critics, some vendors felt over-regulated, there was no denying the advantage of transparent grading systems and digital transaction platforms. Hygiene and safety standards were publicly graded, turning customers into watchdogs. A stall with a poor rating risked swift backlash, ensuring that vendors maintained cleanliness or risked losing business. By the end of my time in Singapore, I was both impressed and a little overwhelmed by how much the government's regulations had shaped the street food landscape. The system wasn't perfect, but it had a noticeable impact on the quality and efficiency of the hawker stalls, benefiting both the vendors and customers. Thanks to Madam Priya's sponsorship and Dr. Rao's expert networking, my international study had taken me far beyond a surface-level tour. Each country's unique blend of government policies and technology initiatives offered both solutions and cautionary tales. Mexico showed how digital portals could simplify vendor licensing. Sri Lanka underscored the power of microfinance in rebuilding livelihoods. Thailand showcased how embracing tourism standards can boost street vendors' global appeal. Singapore illustrated the benefits of organized hawker centers and cashless transactions. Returning to India, I found myself brimming with ideas. Could we adapt a cooperative model to reduce corruption? Should we push for microfinance and digital literacy training? Could we create hawker zones that balance tradition with hygiene regulations? I felt an urgent need to consolidate these insights into a cohesive framework, one that might guide policymakers, economists, and local administrators as they work to uplift the millions of street vendors who form the backbone of India's informal economy. Little did I realize that my final thesis, shaped by this global expedition, would soon capture the attention of not only my university peers but also influential figures within Andhra Pradesh's legislative circles. The wheels were in motion, and the next chapter of my journey would involve bridging these fresh perspectives with the realities on the ground, ultimately forging a policy blueprint that might finally empower street vendors at home.